This is New Day Saturday edition, live on TV3, also live on 3FM 92.7, also live on Connect 97.1 FM in Takoradi. Let's get to the panel. We have with us today for today's discussions, from my extreme left is Mr. Joe Jackson, a regular on the show. He's an economic analyst and also the director of business operations at Daylex Finance. Next, we have Mr. Kwame Jantua. He is a member of the CPP, vice chairman of the Public Interest and Accountability Commission. He's also the CEO of the African Energy Consortium Limited. And next we have the Honorable Andrew Ejapa. Ejapa Mesa. He is the NPP MP for Secondary constituency. We're expecting from the NDC side, the Honorable Baba Jamal to join us. So we'll carry on. When he comes in, he joins with the discussions as well. So, gentlemen, good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning.
It's good to have you as usual.
It's good to see you too.
Yes, a number of issues pending. I've raised these ones, but I think we can start off with the the domestic bond, which is causing a lot of, if you like, controversy. We do have, we'll play back some portions of the press conference by the minority, but let's just start off with this. Mr. Joe Jackson, you're coming from the finance sector, so definitely I'll start with you here. The Ministry of Finance is saying that the issuance of the bonds brought in some amount of foreign currency pumped into the economy, converted into CD, so it helped with, stabilizing the CD and a number of issues coming up. The benefits they've put out there, obviously positive developments. But tell us your thoughts. Are you in agreement with what the ministry is putting out, suggesting to be the, impact of this bond on the economy? We'll definitely look at the issues the minority has raised, but let's just start off with this, just to have an understanding.
Okay, now, first of all, let's put this in perspective.
Right.
The bond itself, it's not a particularly huge sum when you look at the size of the economy. So it's a good. We could debate whether the bond is a good thing or not. My personal opinion is that the city shouldn't be propped up. I know it's a very controversial opinion, but I don't think so. And why do I say that the city shouldn't be propped up? So some of the things that they're talking about in terms of the good parts of this bond, I disagree with. I disagree with because fundamentally, I've just come from the north. Our farmers are unable to sell their rice. They're unable to sell their obvious products because there are cheap imports coming from outside. One of the worries I have about some of the things that are happening is that we're on one hand, we're eager to get these farmers to go to work, to provide financing. My company is involved in providing financing to the farmers up north, the smallholder farmers. And the continuous cry we have, and what holds us back, is the fact that cheap imports from outside. My opinion is that allow the city to slide to a point where it is not cheaper to bring in white rice, unhealthy white rice from Thailand, and the farmer who's produced healthier rice in Ghana, smallholder farmers who only need small amounts of money, can't sell their rice because it's too expensive. So as much as I see where they're coming from, as much as I can appreciate what the Ministry of Finance is saying with the bond, and we could go on and on about the merits of what the opposition is saying, I'm saying that anytime I hear somebody saying, let's prop up the CD, I say, this is the wrong direction.
Even as a short-term measure?
Forget short or long term. This economy has major structural issues. Anybody whose business is predicated on importing should be looking at his business and saying, how long is this sustainable? It's the elite, those of us who live in Accra, those of us who want to drink serious juice instead of sobolo, those of us who want to eat perfumed rice instead of parboiled rice from the north, who are all hung up in making sure that the comforts and the things of life that we like. Those of us who want to go for a holiday in Dubai, who want to keep the city at a certain level. You can argue your head off that this is a country that imports and the industries also import. if the cedis went down enough, Guinness has whole programs to replace imported malt with local variants.
Right.
I'm saying that the reason why it is not, we keep on importing is that we keep propping up the cedi. How long can we do this? For how long? I really think, well, the bond may be required for different reasons. And let's bear in mind that the key reason was to also refinance some of the debts that are coming due.
Right.
That I agree with. But don't tell me about propping up the cedi. Propping up the cedi is the wrong thing. Go tell that farmer, the farming group. It was
to basically bring about the reprofiling of our debt. But in the process, it has...
Don't tell me about that. Reprofiling of the debt, I can't do anything about. It's a fact of life. We have a huge debt. We have to refinance the debt. I agree with. If it ended there, fine. Spending that money, telling me about propping up the cedi, just reminds me that there's a group in the north, Shinkafa Buni, there's a group in north, Mazara Azaki, made up of small holder farmers who are suffering because of cheaper variants.
Very well. Let me move to Mr. Jantor here. Mr. Joe Jackson raises a number of issues here. Some would say that perhaps those are the long-term, measures that would eventually put the city on the right footing. The interim or the short-term period, we probably need to do these things to, release or ease the burden on government to settle certain debts that were due. What do you say?
Whatever you do, good morning to viewers. But whatever you do, it comes to bite you back. I do agree with Joe when he says we don't need to prop up the cedi. Let the cedi be flexible. Let us see exactly where the cedi can get to. But you see, if we do not look at production, we do not look at exports, we do not look at those commodities that can make the cedi strong, we are wasting our time. Look, one of the major minerals that continuously attracts demand is gold. And at the present moment, China is buying gold from everywhere. What are they using it for? To prop up their currency. We are a gold producer and we are selling what? Wholesale. We're not doing anything to add value to the lot of commodities we have. And if that is the case, how does the cedi get strong? If that is the case, why are we not doing anything about the exports, the mighty exports coming in? Rather, mighty imports coming in, and not look at the exports going out. I think we've got to a stage where the current government has goodwill, has massive goodwill. We need a radical change. We need a radical change in our governance. We need a radical change in our economy. One of the major things that...
But a radical change would require a certain, perhaps timeline here. This is a government that was faced with, the pressure of settling certain debts that were due. Within that circumstances or that context, what was it to do?
Well, we need to be able to sit, when I talk about radical change, we need to be able to put those things that we need to put in place for people to see that as we go forward, we have put the right things in place, right policies in place to be able to tackle whatever we have to look at. Because, for instance, the previous government, they were using debt to pay debt. They were going for loans to pay debt. How feasible is that? Is this a typical example of that, where we've gone for a bond and we're using it to pay debt? What caused that debt? What was it that we said, look, we need X amount of money to continue doing X, Y, Z? I think this government should take a position where when we get to a certain level of expenditure, we cap it. Like the some South American countries did. We cap it. We don't have enough money to do X, Y, Z. Let's cap it. And let's make sure that we're able to cover where we are now before we move forward. Yes, the mindset of Ghanaians should change in terms of their taste. And Joe, I don't only think it's the people in the urban areas who like Chinese perfumed rice. Go to the rural areas. They also like Chinese perfumed rice because the mindset has been set and set away. And I think that is one thing our governments haven't been able to do, change the mindset of the people. We need to be able to do that. And we need to be able to have a structure in place that will see the economy rising through our city. Because yes, the city tends to fluctuate, and then we hear that, cocoa board has gone for X amount of money. The next thing you hear, the city has gone up. The next thing you hear, the dollar is strong, the city has fallen. We can't do this canoe yo-yo thing that we're doing. We need a situation where the city has stabilized for a long duration of time. People can plan. People will not say, city is dropping, let me go and buy dollars. City is dropping, let me go and buy pounds. City is dropping, let me go and buy naira. It won't work that way. We need a constructive way in which we're going to make sure that the city stabilizes.
Not to do business as usual.
Not to do business as usual.
Very well. Let us take a look at the press conference, some portions of it held by the minority. When we come back, the panel will take a look at this issue, the issues that were raised at the press conference.
On April 3 this year, a statement was issued from the Ministry of Finance announcing the ministry has issued 15 and 7-year bonds with the same coupon rate of 19.75%, raising a total amount of $1.13 billion. The Ministry of Finance again raised the cedi equivalent of $1.12 billion in 5 and 10-year bonds via a tap arrangement. The Minister of Finance, Ken Ofori-Atta, stated the issuance proceeds will be used to repurchase or retire a portion of the higher coupon short-term public debt instruments, explaining that there will not be an overall increase in the total debt stock. This, he explained, will give the country more needed fiscal space for development. According to the minority in Parliament, the Finance Ministry did not name companies or individuals that participated in the sale, but came out to say the issuance attracted a number of global portfolio investors. The minority added this included a substantial investment in the 15-year bond, which they said was reported by Reuters, claiming a senior government official reported a global financial investor, Franklin Templeton, had participated in the sale.
According to the report, Franklin Templeton, high-profile bond fund manager Dr. Michael Hessentab, has taken a substantial position in Ghana's cedi-denominated government bonds. Honorable Trevor Jane Travgan was named as one of the 5 board of directors of the firm. He was also described as the chairman of the Enterprise Group Limited in the report.
The minority added the Enterprise Group has 10 board of directors. Among them are Kelly Gajepo, Group CEO of Enterprise Group, Dr. Angela Ofori-Atta, wife of Finance Minister, who doubles as Director of Enterprise Insurance, as subsidiary of Enterprise Group.
Honorable Trevor J. Travgan is not just a board chairman of Enterprise Insurance Limited, a company owned partially by the current Finance Minister, Data Bank Limited. Honorable Trevor J. Travgan is also a director of Franklin Templeton, which is the main participant in the recent bond issue.
This, they said, is believed there is a relational interest between Finance Minister and Trevor Travgan, which creates a potential lack of transparency and conflict of interest.
Good. So that was the portions of the press conference that was organized by the minority in Parliament, where they raised a number of issues in respect of the issuance of this bond. Amongst them being the conflict of interests raised in respect of the Finance Minister, Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta. Also, they talked about the fact that the whole process was shrouded in secrecy, no transparency. Also talking about an alleged breach of Article 1815 of the Constitution and a number of others. So we're looking at this. Now, Honorable Ejapamesa, let me come to you on this here. The minority is raising these issues. We could start off with the conflict of interest. I know you'd want to speak about the generality of the bond issuance and everything. You could do that, but then also specifically, let's look at the concerns they've raised here. Conflict of interest. What do you see to be the conflict of interest in here? I mean, we could go into it further, but before that, before Honorable Mercer comes in here, let me introduce the Honorable Baba Jamal, who just joined us. He is representing the NDC, and Honorable Baba Jamal is the former MP for Akwatia constituency. You're welcome, Honorable.
Thank you.
Good, and it's good to have you here. So yes.
Yes, good morning to your viewers and my co-panelists. I was amazed at the entire press conference that was held by the minority, because all the issues that they raised, as far as I'm concerned, were all smooth screen. I mean, this is an institution that has clearly been proven to have participated in the issuance of our bonds since 2006. So were they to stop by virtue of the fact that one of their directors of a particular fund is also a director who has a relationship with our current finance minister? Clearly not. In any event, it was not the Ministry of Finance that issued the bond. It was the Bank of Ghana which issued the bond. So where lies the issue of conflict of interest? This is a policy that was developed, the book building policy was developed by the NDC. The book runners have remained the same since 2015. Barclays, Stanbic, and then SGS.
Yes.
What has changed? The question really that I've been trying to ask myself since this issue came up is whether the coupon rate was increased significantly to the advantage of Franklin Templeton Fund to the detriment of everybody else. Clearly not. So what is the issue? What is the issue?
Could you kindly explain what you mean by the coupon rate?
If the interest rate that was payable on the bond, which on the market or at this issuance was between 19 and 19.75. The previous bond was done at about 19 in November, if my memory serves me right. If the rate had been increased to, say, 22 for only Franklin Templeton, then you can say that, what is happening here? We issued a bond. That
wouldn't necessarily address the conflict of interest issue.
But then, of course, then you would say that, and because Franklin Templeton had taken 95% of the bond, then it would make sense to me to say that, is it because of the relationship between the finance minister and one of the directors of this fund that the coupon rate had been increased for their benefit, and seemingly, according to them, which I have not seen any proof that they preferred, that this thing was shrouded in secrecy? Because as far as I'm concerned, all the publications that needed to be done were done. All the notices that needed to be said were said. And those who were interested in participated in the bond. So where lies the issue of secrecy that they're talking about? You see, I've been in Parliament since January. And right from the beginning of the time that the President issued the State of the Nation address through the reading of the budget, their posture was that this is a government that was going to fail because all the promises that they had made, there was no money to fund the programs. Little did they know that some capping of the earmark funds was coming. It came as a huge surprise to them that the physical space that they were claiming was not available immediately had become available because the government had taken a decision that to the extent that we manage this economy, we are not going to sit down and be saddled with issues that or legislating that we ourselves had put in place to manage our economy that was creating problems for us. We'll cap it. And that was done, providing physical space. They knew that they had borrowed so much and that there was no way that the government was going to find any means of, and because of the IMF program, go out into the market and generate additional revenue to meet maturing obligations and then also fund the budgetary allocations that have been made. And they see that Franklin Templeton, that this bond had happened, and huge success. So they had to say something. Let them tell me one instance that was wrong with this transaction.
Well, very well. Let me move on to the Honorable Baba Jamal, who joined us now, because clearly the issues here, I mean, you've raised certain issues, and as to whether they are legitimate or not, we're yet to, get into that. Now, the conflict of interest issue here, I mean, from the reports we have, is that one, Mr. Trev Gunn, who is one of 5 directors of Franklin Templeton, of course, he is a director.
One fund, just one fund.
He is
managed huge funds.
Yes, let me carry on. So he is a director, one of 5 directors of Franklin Templeton. Turns out he's also the chairman of the enterprise group. And that's where the connect, that's how come that's a basis for the minority's claim or allegation of the conflict of interest here. Now tell me, he is a director of Franklin Templeton, one of 5. Franklin Templeton, or Trev Gunn, Mr. Trev Gunn, is not a public officer in Ghana, doesn't hold any public office. He's just a director of a company. he is also the chairman of the Enterprise Foundation. We know the book runners in this process, like the Honorable here mentioned, Stanbic, Stanchart, and SAS. Franklin Templeton or the Enterprise Group, not one of them. So how do we bring about this connection and the claim of a conflict of interest? Help us understand that. Where is the minority coming from in this regard?
Okay, thank you very much. I think that the first one, let's define what conflict of interest is, so that we understand what we are talking about. Conflict of interest is
you make reference to the Constitution, so perhaps we could read that here. And
the Constitution, I don't think the Constitution directly defines conflict of interest. There was
it doesn't. It just says don't put yourself in that position.
Yeah, you don't put yourself. It simply means that you don't put yourself in a position where a decision taken by you, directly or indirectly, or your position can influence the decision that you are taking. Is that not it? That's
about personal interest conflicting with your public.
No, you see,
functions.
Public interest is when you put yourself, the position you are holding. If you are in a position where the decision you are going to take, can benefit you directly or indirectly, then that conflict of interest comes. It may not necessarily directly be you involved, but once you are in a position where the decision you are going to take can benefit you even indirectly, then you are in that position. That is the first understanding I want us to have. The issue about Templeton already having been doing business with Ghana or whatever is not the issue here. You see, Bank of Ghana has issued a statement. Up till today, they've not been able to clarify the issue about conflict of interest. We are saying that.
Well, they are saying there's none. You are saying no, there is, and that's why I'm asking.
If there's none, they should explain.
No, you are saying there is.
Yes.
So, and I'm asking, show us against the facts as we have it.
Yes.
You're talking about a Mr. Trefgan, that he is a director of Franklin Templeton.
Yes.
The investment company that emerged, as the investor of choice, if you like.
Yes.
And the fact that he is also a chairman of the Enterprise Group. And so, against that background, the fact that Mr. Kenofriata is somehow connected to the Enterprise Group, there is a conflict of interest. And I'm saying,
have they denied that there is a relationship between Ken and Templeton? Have they? Have they been able to deny that?
Carry on with your.
No, if they've not denied that, we are saying and you see,
so the fact that they are friends means
no. Wait, hold on. You see, he was saying that the bond was issued by Bank of Ghana. How can Bank of Ghana issue a bond without the consent of Ministry of Finance? Is it possible?
No, but the Bank of Ghana, as you know, is a statutory, but it's set up. It's autonomous.
No. Can I flow?
Definitely. You were asking a question. I was trying to help.
No. It was just what I'm saying is that if Bank of Ghana is going to issue a bond, and they issue a bond without the consent of Ministry of Finance, definitely Ministry of Finance have to sanction it. So the minister who is sanctioning it has a relationship with the person. And you see, it is not only the relationship, it is the process.
But
we'll get into the process, but let's take the minister's reaction. No, just a minute. Let's take the reaction, and then we come back to it. Honorable Mesa, let's take this. Definitely, you get to do that, but let's take a listen to the minister's reaction, and then we come back. You can make your submissions, the interjections, and then Honorable continue. So let's take a listen to that.
According to the Ministry of Finance, the issuance of the bond was neither shrouded in secrecy nor cooked for a particular investor. In the statement, it said the book runners announce and publish every pending bond issue to the market, the week of issue, and provide price guidance to the market. This particular bond issue was no different and was done in conformity with the established process. The investor in question, FT, is said to have held government of Ghana bonds of up to $2 billion prior to this transaction. On the issue of parliamentary approval, the statement maintained that the issuance, like all other domestic bonds issued under this bond program since 2015, did not require parliamentary approval. The statement justified that the issuance brought in significant amount of foreign currency, which was converted into cedis to purchase the bond, helping to strengthen the value of the cedi and providing much-needed respite for the citizenry. It added that the transaction will also lengthen the maturity periods of government debts, thereby reducing the short-term redemption and rollover pressures on government.
Okay, so that wasn't really the minister's reaction there, but we will definitely get to that. But let's continue with that. But I think Mr. Jackson wanted to make an interjection briefly, and then we come to you. Yes, Mr. Jackson, carry on.
You know, for me, the conflict of interest thing is a bit tenuous. The bond is, we're not saying that the Ministry of Finance doesn't give approval or what, but the bond is issued by the
Central Bank.
And the actual process of taking bids, etc., is managed by 3 institutions. If you impute a conflict of interest, you are impugning
the credibility
Central Bank,
and all of that.
The
book runners,
etc. You know, it's a bit. And hold on, because one, these guys had been involved in this process before. 2, in this particular process, I think the onus is on the person making an allegation to prove and to show that the process was different in this case.
Very well. So, but thank you for that interjection.
And then I have a problem with the situation where, listen, we all hold multiple directorships, etc., across the financial sector. Now, as soon as now you say, if somebody is doing something somewhere and I am on the same board with him in another party, then it becomes, it's a bit too tenuous.
No. It is not only.
I think your point is
it is not only.
He was part of a decision.
Fantastic. That's the point. So let's
could have influenced it in the direction of somebody.
Mr. Jackson, yes. So let's have it.
You see, it is not your involvement in a process that actually comes out with the conflict of interest. You can't be in a position and declare your interest that I am part of this process, but this is my interest. That is also allowed. You can even excuse yourself
from a process.
But let me even please.
How do you excuse yourself?
Please, can we get this? What I'm saying is that we are looking at the whole process of the issuance of the bond.
Yeah. What is the process?
Just a minute.
Are you hosting?
Let him tell us.
Are you hosting?
Let's allow him to.
Honorable, please. Let's see.
I'm even surprised you are watching.
That's fine.
We don't need to waste.
No. Oh. Honorable Mesa, please allow him. No. Please. No. Let's be tempered. Let's exercise restraint here. No.
Can we be?
He has a right. The party has a right. The minority has a right to raise these issues, and they've done so. So let them explain
our position
here. Yes,
Honorable
Jamal, let me help the conversations here. Indeed, yes. I want us to unpack your issues that you've raised. That's why I earlier on stated there's a conflict of interest issue you've raised, and which is what we are dealing with now. There's the fact that you talked about the lack of transparency, that it was shrouded in secrecy. We'll get onto that. I don't want us to put it together, otherwise we'll lose the argument. So let's do the conflict of interest, and then we interrogate your allegation of the fact that there was a lack of transparency.
You see, as a minority, like you said, we have every right to ask questions where we think that a process is not right. And nobody can take that right from us. We are looking at the process of the bond from start to end. And the first question we even ask is that, from the response of the minister, is this bond a domestic bond? That is even the beginning of the whole question, where the financing of the bond, majority of the percentage of the money is coming from outside. So where you have set a situation where we think it's not a domestic bond, then in the first place you need the...
No, so you're moving into the parliamentary approval. We'll get into that, but we are on the conflict
but
of
the
interest.
issues are mixed up. You can't isolate them. No, you can't isolate them. If you allow me, I don't want to isolate the issue and say that, because the conflict of interest itself is based on issues. Our problem is that, one, the process itself is not transparent.
Get to that.
No,
we're talking about the conflict.
I
asked the question. So the fact that Mr. Trev Gan is a director of FT, Franklin Templeton,
and has a relationship,
and that he is a chairman of this, based on that, you're drawing a conflict of interest.
Yes, that's the conflict of interest. It's in there because, and as a result of that relationship, the process itself was not transparent. It didn't follow the due procedures that we expected it to follow. That is where...
Honorable, please allow him.
One of it is that it needs parliamentary approval, which didn't come. That is one of it.
Which will interrogate...
that is one of it.
In due course here.
And also, even if you look at the timing, the publication, and all those things, it influenced, it was not transparent because of that relationship between Ken and Templeton, which we think influenced the process. So if you don't get that, then I don't understand. I don't know whether you appreciate
the whole process, because the statement that was put out by the ministry alludes to a certain, if you like, system or process which was initiated under the Mahama administration, which, according to the ministry, was implemented or complied with to the letter. And that is what we'll be interrogating. So, but let me take Mr. Jantu's pick on this thing about conflict of interest. Do you see any conflict of interest issues arising from this transaction, given the fact as we have that Mr. Trev Gan is a director, in fact, one of 5 directors of Franklin Templeton, and that he's a chairman of Enterprise Group? Do you see
the first question I ask is that the NDC government did use Frank Templeton before.
Yep.
In that time period they used Frank Templeton, was this gentleman part and parcel of the transaction? Have they worked with him before? Is he somebody they know? Now, if that is the case, then we have a new finance minister in place who is a director of this enterprise.
Yes, the enterprise group.
And this gentleman we talk about is also director of this enterprise group. The first question you then ask is that, did the finance minister, because of his relationship with this gentleman, request that he step down, or he excuses himself from the transaction because they might feel, and it has come out, that there could be...
Would declare his interest?
Or there could be a conflict of interest there. If, in the scheme of things, the Bank of Ghana, all the authorities, felt that the relationship between the finance minister and this gentleman did not bring conflict of interest, and the transaction itself was seen to be transparent and open, and most important of all, it benefited Ghana, then I don't see a problem.
Let me come in here. Now, Mr. Trev Gan here is a person, an individual, and he is a director of the company that came out as the investor of choice in this regard. So, and he's one of 5 directors. I'm struggling to see how that plays in here and raises the issue of the conflict of interest.
Now,
this is because it was a company, right, that came in to do the bond transaction.
Now, I'm not too familiar with the processes of getting a bond out. Is it that the group of companies or the number of companies that come and bid for the bond, and through that they choose one? Is that what it is? Maybe Honorable will be able to tell me, or somebody will tell me. Or is it that the company would say, I have the ability to handle this bond?
No.
And so then
the process is managed by the 3 companies that we talked about.
And investors who are interested in taking just submit bids. I can speak, you're offering 1 billion.
Please allow one person to talk at a time.
Even the Bank of Ghana, strictly speaking, does not have a really direct influence on who ends up getting what percentage of what was put out.
Okay.
Because you've appointed somebody else to manage that process, who is in touch with the investors, etc., and can help you get this out. So even this conflict of interest thing comes. One of the issues I have is that the Ministry of Finance is actually 2-3 steps removed from the process.
Okay, so
it's true. He must know about it. He must most probably give approval for the process, but he's so far removed.
Joe, before I lose my train of thought, so it then means that the four of us are sitting here. The bond is there. If I give a better offer, the Bank of Ghana should choose my offer.
But before
you give your bid,
yes,
you must be given time. It must be competitive. It must be announced within a specific time. Everybody will have access to it. We are not raising questions only about conflict of interest.
Yes,
we are saying that because the conflict of interest existed, it influenced the process, which was not transparent.
Let me go through the process as outlined.
That's the
question.
Even the process you were talking about, we are raising within. They are talking that the issue. They gave timing where they opened the bid.
Yes.
But from the timing that they gave, clearly the thing was open for about just a day or so.
You see, that's your claim. That's the minority.
What is not true? What is not true?
Honorable.
The book runners on the Ministry of Finance, per its statement, is saying that the process was opened by 7 notice on the 30th.
That's right.
And you are claiming that the email that was sent on the 31st.
At 4:20 p.m. 4:20 p.m.
sale of the bond
that day is
took
part
place
of it.
on the 3rd.
4:20.
So what are they talking about?
Very well.
31st.
So
4:20. No, please.
The point is this. No, 3 days. That's why I kept Gentlemen, please. Let's have some order here.
Today as part of the 3 days.
Mr. Baba Jamal.
That's the question.
Please, let's move on. Clearly, we've moved on with the issue about the conflict of interest. We're now on the process itself. And per the ministry's statement, the process is such that the book runners, being Barclays, Stanbic, and SAS, on behalf of the Ministry of Finance, have been mandated since 2015 to issue domestic bonds on a regular basis, as per the debt issuance calendar, which the Ministry of Finance puts out every quarter. So this thing starts from that. So there's a debt issuance calendar that's put out every quarter. Pretty much putting out that, yes, we intend to do so and so and so.
Exactly.
But when there's a bond to be issued, the announcement goes out during the week of the issuance of the bond.
Yes.
Right? And in this case, the government is saying that the announcement was made on the 30th of March by email.
Which we dispute.
Fantastic.
It was made on 31st at 4:20 p.m.
Very well. Let me carry on.
And
so it was announced via email, and there was also publication on the Bank of Ghana website as well as the Ministry of Finance website on the 30th of March, and it was actually settled on the 3rd of April. That's according to the government, but the minority is claiming otherwise, that it all happened within a day. So clearly, there's an issue.
What is the force here? What is the force here? These are, we have given you even specific times.
The settlement data.
We have given you specific times that the email was issued, when it was issued.
Okay,
we have given you specific times. So it is not an assumption. We are talking about. Yes. So
is that email? Do you have it available?
Oh, I don't have it here. Of course, I don't have it here.
To bring some finality to this,
I say I don't have it here, but of course they can. Look, what
no, carry on, please. Please carry on. No, Honorable Minister, allow him.
Yes. You see, sometimes we need to understand that when minority speaks, your colleagues are on the minority. Some better placed than even you, understanding some of these issues. The person who is leading that thing, it was the Deputy Finance Minister for all the 4 years that the government was there, and therefore knows exactly what he's talking about. So you cannot, please.
But that's the point.
What I'm saying is that the way you are handling this issue, as if those people on the other side don't know what they are doing. But I can assure you that.
So when you issue, Honorable Baba Jamal, we
are not saying the government doesn't know. We are saying that the government deliberately shrouded the process in.
But these are allegations you're throwing out there.
We are giving facts.
No, those are from your side.
We are giving facts.
Those are from your side. The other side is giving a different set of facts. Don't we have issues to?
I'm very cool.
Settle?
No, cool down.
Very cool.
Both of you are high on energy today.
Cool down. You have to, because
I am more than
just a minute, please. Honorable.
Yes.
You have raised certain issues.
Yes.
The government has come in to respond.
That's right. And the response still has not addressed the issues.
But you haven't proved what you're saying.
Oh, but what proof are you talking about?
Has anybody cited a copy
That's what I was
of
asking.
the
so-called email, for instance.
What I'm saying is that the minority issued the statement. If I got this your topics this last evening, maybe I could have made arrangements to get an email or something to show.
But this press conference was held earlier on in the week.
No, I'm talking about me coming here. I'm talking about me coming to discuss this issue. You send your. I have your WhatsApp.
The statement was made earlier on in the week.
I am saying that I have your WhatsApp here.
None whatsoever.
No, please.
I have your WhatsApp here.
Allow him to speak.
You gave me the topics for this discussion last evening, and so definitely I couldn't have gotten all those things to bring along.
So
my point is that I have the statement that the response to the minority. If you want me to read that response, I can read it out here. But we don't have time. We have given a position. We have told you the email that came, the time the email was sent. We have given all those times. We up to today, the processes we are saying. In the first place, the bond. We have asking questions about whether the bond is domestic or international. You are saying that the bond is domestic. We are saying no. When you have a bond about close to 90% or more finance or whatever coming from outside, how do you expect that the bond to be domestic?
Is the bond in cedis or in foreign exchange?
CD denominated.
So if it's CD dominated,
my brother, in our country, always all transactions at the end of the day will be denominated in CD, but still will have the dollar equivalent or the pound equivalent or whatever equivalent.
But the investors who came in, Honorable Baba Jamal, seriously.
Honorable Baba Jamal, seriously. When a bond is issued on the international market,
currency, then it's domestic.
We don't care what money he brings in, but he has to change it and give us CDs. Yeah. It's a domestic.
Yeah, but if a person want to swindle you by saying that I want to come and buy a domestic bond and I'll change my money as a foreigner, come into the local market.
It's not helping.
No, let me explain that.
Swindle is. I think the West should be measured here.
I'm going to explain it.
Nobody has been proven to have swindled anybody.
No, but have I mentioned anybody that some of them? What I'm saying that he is saying that
there's an implied intention.
He is saying that when it is issued on the international market, it is deemed to be external. When it's issued on the domestic market, it's domestic. And I'm saying that if a person intends to swindle you, he can change his money, bring it into the system, knowing what he can gain from the system, and buy it on the local market. It is for us as a country. It is for us as a country.
No, swindling there.
Oh, of course, if it is cheaper here, and you think that you can get it.
I think we need to do this seriously. It's getting a bit. This is a discourse we are having. People are listening. I think it's prudent for us to be putting out things that are factual and not, certain.
Has anybody
statements
been
that
factual
are
here?
Out of,
Has anybody been factual here?
let's a domestic bond. I mean, there's a definition for what a domestic bond is,
right.
and what an external bond, or for that matter, Euro bond is. We can't be, you know, throwing things around here, making it seem as though, like comparing apples and oranges and trying to force it on people that this is what it is. This is a Ghana cedi denominated bond. The investors who came here brought in various foreign currencies, but were made to convert to Ghana cedis.
And
that is what it is.
Yes.
And they're going to be paying back in cedis. So that is what it is. But if you're arguing from the perspective that, yes, this is a company that is a foreign company, and on that score, you're looking at the fact that, yes, Ghana is going into a transaction with an international entity, and for that matter, per Article 1815, required parliamentary approval. Yes, then we could begin with that. But if you're going on this tangent about
what have we
what
been
you're
talking
saying,
about?
no, listen, there are two different things. Let's not, that's why I keep saying let's unpack it, let's unpack this. Otherwise, we confuse the issues. Now we move on to the thing about the alleged breach of Article 1815. I think that is going to help, you know, with this. Let's not mix it up with the fact that, yes, it's a domestic bond, it's not a domestic bond and all of those issues. So you are alleging that the government breached Article 1815 because it didn't seek parliamentary approval. Government has responded saying that, no, this is a domestic bond and they didn't need to go for that approval. Now, let me ask you, Honorable Mensah, what do you say to this allegation?
None of the allegations that they made.
Specifically this one, the breach of Article 181. Yes.
Consistent with all the allegations that they've made.
But you know, some people have raised issues, some people have raised
wild allegations are that, and ask somebody else to prove.
Let me bring this in. Honorable Mensah, let me bring this in. There's a reference to a certain section 3.11 of the Ghana Public Borrowing Guidelines, right, which defines external debt.
That's right.
And perhaps for, you know, for the benefit of viewers and listeners, let's just read that. So that is saying that external debt is defined on gross basis at any given point in time as disbursed and contractual liabilities of the central government to non-residents to repay principal with or without interest, or to pay interest with or without principal. Now, clearly, Franklin Templeton is a non-resident. It's an American company.
That's right.
And we have this transaction with the company. It's a non-resident. Per this definition, wouldn't you see this as, yes, being amounting to an external debt? And for that matter, within the context of Article 1815, that parliamentary approval perhaps was needed.
Well, I've not seen these guidelines, and it will seem to suggest that per the definition, what the transaction constituted would amount to
international transaction.
But typically, and as was explained in the Ministry of Finance's statement, they had sought approval from Parliament in 2015 that this thing is going to be done consistently over the period, and approval had been given. Now, the issuance of the bond, the notice that comes with the issuance clearly states that it is available, it states the eligibility, that residents and non-residents can participate.
Definitely, they can participate, but if you eventually...
and I'll be very candid. I mean, I don't know to what extent that this can be treated, because
Can I make a little interjection?
Sure.
Very well.
Sure, carry on.
My question is this. See, there's a precedent. If this was the first time Franklin Templeton was engaging in this process, then we could have this debate. My question is, in the previous times that it took part in this same process, was parliamentary approval required?
I mean, that's a legitimate question, but then you could raise the issue about...
So hold on. Doesn't it sound
hypocritical?
A bit hypocritical.
But it doesn't take away the fact that if we needed parliamentary approval, then the fact that we've been doing it without parliamentary approval, we didn't need to.
If you're raising an issue this year, fine, it's within your legitimate rights. But this company has been involved since what? They say what, 2007 or 2006.
Yes.
But under this book, is it bookkeeping approach, book building, approach, that was from 2015, and indeed the company had participated since then as well.
2015, 2016. What happened then? It sounds to me like we're now really nitpicking, trying to find a specific.
Mr. Jackson, clearly that raises issues about the, if you like, quote unquote, hypocritical attitude of perhaps the minority now, given that, yes, under the administration, they did without parliamentary approval.
Exactly.
But my question is, it still doesn't take away the fact that if indeed, per the Constitution, we needed parliamentary approval, we are saying that the fact that they were doing it back there without parliamentary approval, they cannot raise the issue now. They have raised it now, we need to interrogate it.
Well,
which is what I think, is the way to go.
Can I agree?
Abner, if the requirement was that for any bond that is issued, it needs parliamentary approval, then they've been in breach.
They have been.
Then they do.
Yes.
They have no
moral basis.
They have no locus to open their mouth to say anything.
Doesn't matter
because they've been in breach. You've breached the law. You breached the law.
Decided to just keep quiet.
If that is
at the end of the day, we arrive where?
If that is the requirement, that you need parliamentary approval for whether domestic or international bond, and they didn't do it because it suited them, they breached the law. They should just keep quiet.
No, is this the statutory provision or is it
other than that,
guidelines to borrowing.
Other than that, just a minute.
Based on a number of statutes that have been mentioned.
Other than that, if that happened, they should be held responsible. If they are to be taken to court for breaching that law, they should take them to court. So that it forms some kind of a statute that nobody can breach the laws of this country. Parliament is the house of laws. They say do something, you don't do it,
I raised this
and now
issue,
you are talking.
I raised this issue to lead us to something else, and let's go there now. So yes, granted, assuming that parliamentary approval needed, we need parliamentary approval for this transaction. Now tell me, a number of lawyers on this panel here, we know in the case of Balkan Energy, Faro Atlantic and all of that, that Article 1815 has been interpreted by the Supreme Court, really. So what an international transaction is, we already know. So we don't need to worry our heads about it. Clearly, Franklin Templeton is, like I said, an international, it's an American company. Exactly, non-resident. So that thing comes in here. But within the scope of the bond issuance, tell me, at what point in the process would we have gone to seek parliamentary approval? Because this is different from the Balkan Energy case, for instance, which government had the foreknowledge that this entity is foreign. For a bond issuance, you don't know who is going to emerge as the investor of choice, if you know what. So at what point in the process was the parliamentary approval to be sought? Was it before it was announced, or at the point where Franklin Templeton was seen as, yes, perhaps we could go with him, then say, okay, hold on, let's go seek parliamentary approval and come and continue with the process. How practical is that? How practical is that?
If you approve a domestic bond to be issued, and Parliament says that, agrees that it will be open to residents and non-residents, my assumption simply will be that you have thought through that there will be non-residents who are international organizations, etc., corporations, etc., who participate. So that approval has been given. You can't come back to me and say, I approved it, but I hadn't thought of that non-resident issue, so come back and give me new approval.
But you see,
what are you talking about?
Essentially, the approval is implied.
It's implied!
But
because when they asked you, there were non-resident issues.
Implied approval.
But you see, that's another point we're raising.
No.
But Mr. Jackson, just a minute.
Parliament doesn't do that.
Let's take some comments, please. Let's rest this.
Parliament doesn't give implied approval.
Yes.
The question is on the definition of when do you define a bond to be international and when do you define it to be domestic?
Let me take these messages and then we'll come back to that. This one is AU Farouk and Tamal. He says, good morning to you, Abna, and your panelists. This Leonard, it says the Leonard Attorney General, Honorable Glory Kufu, has averred that she knew absolutely nothing about the Templeton bond affair. The ball is in the court of President Akufo-Addo to crack the whip. This bond issue is stunning and breathtaking. Will interest rates average 19% over the next 15 years? How much did we pay as, funders or arrangers fees? Which company benefited from those fees, and who are the obscure beneficial owners of that company? He said, President Nana-Addo, we need to lift the veil and face the dark, hyena-like actors with revolutionary fervor. Wow, this is a deep text. I don't even understand it. But anyways, the issue of Galamsey, there should be a mining police to monitor the Galamsey side. This is Kabis Inuidubiasi Zongo. Let me take this one from Ibrahim Intumu. He says, when NDC raised a bond in 2016, the argument was that the policy rate was very high and that Cote d'Ivoire had the same bond at a cheaper rate. Secondly, why was the public not made aware of it this time around? Ghanaians don't matter. Another one coming in from Justice Ofer Jr. Nadenta says, hi, Abna, why do we always finance debt with debt? Is it not the same smart borrowing NDC government did that the NPP hugely accused them? How different is it from what the NPP is doing now? Within less than half a year, we're on the market issuing bonds to service debts. I think Ghana is lacking leaders with vision to rebuild this nation. Patrick in New Aplaku says, good morning to you and your panelists. This is the minority's response to the Ministry of Finance. Says, okay, this is a very lengthy one, raising a number of issues on there. I'll probably have to go on to others. Let me take the last one here. We take a break and we come back. Now, hi, Abna, I'm very disappointed in the minority. They should give us constructive criticism, not this type of propaganda. The minority should sit up. And this is Charles in Tema. Let me take the last one. Good morning, Abner and your panelists. I've been following this bond issued by the Finance Ministry. If the NDC and the minority think there is a conflict of interest, I suggest they head to court. They should allow us to have a peace of mind. This is Bright in Doma. So we'll pull the brakes on the messages here. You're listening and watching to New Day Saturday edition. We're live on TV3 and we're also live on 3FM 92.7, live on Connect 97.1 FM. We're streaming live on the internet at 3news.com, on our Facebook page, Series 3 News, and we are on GhanaWeb.com. We'll just wrap up on this bond and then move on to the Galamsey fight, and we move on to other issues. So, Honorable Baba Jamal, yes.
Two basic points. The first thing that I'm glad you read the guidelines per Ministry of Finance own guidelines for borrowing, and that once the person is non-resident, the bond or the borrowing, whatever, it's an external one. Do you understand? Two, we shouldn't confuse the public by saying that because the thing is denominated in cedi, it's domestic. No, it's not part of the guideline. The moment it is, the person is non-resident and the fund is coming from out there, then it is an external. And by that, you need cabinet and parliamentary approval to proceed. That is what they didn't get, and that is where the problem starts.
So you knew that in the past, and you never did it.
That's what the question is coming up.
You knew that in the past, and you never did it.
No, but you can. We have to go into specifics with that.
We are dealing with specifics.
No, I'm saying that borrowing we did, as far as I am concerned, all the external borrowing we did, we got parliamentary approval. I was in parliament.
Even with the bond.
I'm saying that as far as I'm concerned, if you have a specific issue, you can raise it. But for now, we are dealing with this bond. I am saying that
I'm raising a specific issue.
Templeton is non-resident, since it doesn't matter the currency in which it was denominated, it is an external bond, and they needed cabinet and parliamentary approval, which they didn't get. And you see, that is where you now go. Why? What influenced their decision not to get them? Then you now go into the details of all these conflicts of interest and whatnot. That is where the issues are.
But
yes, didn't go through Parliament. You are now talking
that the
I find
link
it difficult
between
to accept.
Not getting parliamentary approval and conflict of interest, for me again is easy.
Yeah.
Why? Because in times past, NDC dealt with the same organization in 2015 and 2016. did not get parliamentary approval, and yet there was no conflict of interest. So we're raising.
We have you don't have to put it down. The opposition have to do their business. The opposition didn't do their job. The went in position to do their job.
This was the first time
bring the
dealing with this
particular
organization.
That's fine. I think we can safely move on to another topic.
I agree with you.
It's been charged in here. Let's move on. So,
but we have to exhaust it to its finality.
I mean, yes, definitely. But we have to attend to other matters as well. And we're moving on to another very important issue here, which is the fight against Galamsey. So, the 3-week ultimatum given to illegal miners by the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources came to a close this week. And following that, the minister, went on a tour of the illegal mining sites. And we're told that about 545 to 547 excavators have been turned in. And I mean, for me, I find it interesting, the phrasing here, that it was turned in. Turned in terms of what? Turned in, was it brought there, and under what circumstances? Was there designated, point that bring your excavators here, or people abandoned it in the forest and they went for it, or what? For me, it raises very significant issues here about how we're dealing with the process and moving on, how we don't get back to the practice of illegal mining. But we'll take a story and then we'll come back to analyze these issues. Let's take a listen to.
Rivers and other water bodies in the country have been under siege through the activities of Galamsey operators. The Brim River in the East Achim municipality of the Eastern region is heavily polluted due to the activities of gold mining from small-scale mining or Galamsey operation. The Achim-Ebuakwa area has also had its share of water bodies destruction. Activities of illegal miners have destroyed the Brim River, which is the main source of water for the people. This has resulted in the shutdown of the Kibi water treatment plant, plunging the eastern region into water shortage. A visit to the pumping station, which supplies water to about 7 communities around Chebi, revealed that even at the intake point, the water was very muddy with high turbidity. The land near the pump station was being used for illegal mining but was stopped some few months ago. Executive Secretary of the Ochiman Environment Foundation, Kofi Jima Mwakujima, who took the news team round, disclosed that this has resulted in high cost of production for the Ghana Water Company.
There's a burden on Ghana Water Company Limited. They extract this water and spend close to about 5 times the amount or effort needed to purify the water for domestic consumption.
He expressed worry at the absence of aqua life, saying it is a sign of the presence of hard metals in the water, including lead and mercury. He recounted how the water was before the illegal mining activities polluted the Brim River, which is one of the main tributaries of the Pra River.
There's a bamboo cover right here, and the water was clear. You can actually see the bed of the river from standing on this bridge. There were fishes in there, and you could actually dip a cup into the river and drink directly without reason to doubt its purity.
Kofi Jima Mwakujima disclosed there are plans to restore the river.
The idea is to start by resurfacing the land and the landscape, and then introduce certain grasses and crops like mukuna and vertebra that will actually curb erosion and also extract some poison as well.
Great, so we'll be going to the panel here, but before that, let me quickly announce that today at 1 p.m. Winston Amwa will be interviewing the Ochihni on the issue of Galamsey, on hot issues, right here on TV3 at 1 p.m. So please make a date and tune in at that time. Hot issues, 1 p.m. today. Winston Amwa interviews the Ochihni on the subject of Galamsey. Good, so back to my able panelist here. Fight against Galamsey. I mean, we've done this in the past, setting up task forces and all of that. Now this administration comes in, I mean, a 3-week ultimatum given, a number of issues raised about it. Eventually 3 weeks expires, and we have reports of some, I mean, described by the minister as, positive developments here, 545, 547 excavators turned in and all of that. How do we ensure that whatever gains we've made in this 3-week process, we consolidate on it, and then moving on, we don't fall back into this, menace? Have we even dealt with it? with the turning in of 545 excavators. Let me start with Mr. Jackson. Mr. Babajamal, I'll come to you next.
Okay. I even don't think we've dealt with it. Listen, this menace is multifaceted, right? Who are those who get the local licenses? Who are those who bring in Chinese and bring them by the dozen on every other day? Whose land in this country do you go and mine without approval? If you say it's illegal, whose land? Given a country with what? Land guards and all manner of law courts, and we're fighting always over land. Who gives approval? Listen, if you ask me, nothing really concrete has been done yet. One thing I'm glad of is that at least we are having a conversation about Galamsey and its ills, and we have to.
This isn't the first time we're having this kind of conversation.
But I think that this time the conversation has been elevated. Two, we have to start naming and shaming those involved. There are all manner of rumors, chiefs, politicians, party functionaries, etc. We don't know whether it's true or not, but some people know, especially in the local communities. One of the things we should be doing is naming and shaming and saying that you gave approval, that you collected money, and that, because otherwise all that's happening is that we're going around in circles. In any case, you're talking about excavators. How many of them?
545,
500. So what happened? These illegal miners came in and said, take. Or did we send police forces to arrest them? And anyway, we've had instances where there have been stories about even the security forces who go in, they're also on the take. And on all manner of issues. Galamsey is killing this country.
Now let me throw this in as well. In the report, I think I read this from the Daily Graphic, that when the minister went on tour of one of the illegal mining sites, apparently the people there had the fact that he was coming around, so they just abandoned their excavators and everything there, and then they went. So clearly, even in the midst of this seeming success, if you like, people are still there doing their thing.
Nothing has changed. They're working. In fact, somebody was telling me, we were interrogating somebody who's involved in, he says not illegal because he claims that I'm mining, I'm in there, and I have a license, and nobody can tell me I'm illegal. But he says nothing has changed. All the attitude of the players is that this is a wind that will blow and it will pass, and life will go back to normal. But we should not allow this to be a wind that will pass. We should name and shame. If people are involved, we should, because listen, the issue of water is grave. And the next wars we are going to get in this country won't be wars over land, there will be wars over water.
Sure. Honorable Papa Jamal, let me hear from you.
You see, I spoke on one of your sister radio stations, and I had people saying that, oh, because you are involved in Galamsey, because you are, you have lands mining on, that's why I spoke the way I spoke.
Oh, you're involved in Galamsey?
I want to make it categorically clear. I have never, ever done the Galamsey. My mother, my father were all miners. I was born on a mine in Akwetia. So I know mining in and out. But I have never, ever, and interestingly, all my siblings, from A to Z, my mother gave birth to 11 children. 8 of us are surviving. It's involving Galamsey or even diamond, whatever. But facts are facts. When Galamsey didn't start today, it is now that they have given it a different name. When we were growing up, we know it to be smuggling. They call it smuggling. So smuggling, they use pickaxes, they use shovels, go into the bush in the night, small area they carry, and a lot of people dependent on that. That was their profession. And it never polluted even a single water. Akwetia, we had 99 water bodies, 99 rivers. None of them were polluted, even when cast. Then the mining company was mining on a high scale, very high, big scale. It never polluted. The pollution all started from 2002, 2003. when these Chinese, Indians got involved. Now the people were no more using pickaxes and shovels. They were now using excavators. Now when they started using those excavators, and then they brought a machine called chamfine. That is the worst. It's like, because it came from China, that's what they call it, chamfine. Chamfine. That machine, if this is, it stands on the waterway itself, on the river.
It's an FPSO.
Exactly. A mine on the river. Yes. A mine on the river.
Mining
and that
FPSO.
It churns out the river bed.
That's right.
Okay.
And that is the worst polluter of our rivers. So when you take away excavators, you have not solved the problem. The chamfines are still on the rivers. So the last time I gave a 3-point solution to this problem. I must say that the attitude of the minister is right. He wants to see results. He wants to see it solved. But if the way he wants to go about it, if he continues that way, we need to also know, because a research came out with a figure of that about 3 million people are involved in this legal and illegal mining across the country. Because we say galamsey, and even when you see any small scale miner, you think it's a galamsey. No, small scale miners are not galamseyers. They are legal people who are doing legal work. And no minister or government official will give any miner the authority to go and mine in the riverbed. In fact, you are not supposed to go 100 yards away from the river. You are not supposed to go near it, and that's the law. Now, people are now mining in the river. So the first thing I ask the minister to do is that one, he doesn't even need to give them ultimatum. He must mobilize the military and whatever and get all those on the riverbed, out of the riverbed. And once that is done immediately, I'm telling you, we'll have some relief in terms of the complaints about the water. Because you see, those who are far away from the water, there are also rules as to how you dispose of your water. Before that water would travel all the way from the mountain to the river, it would have, sieved itself. And they have a process of doing that. Now, so the immediate one is those in the riverbeds that need to be gotten out. Now, the second thing to do is to find out those who have licenses and whether they are mining at where they were approved to mine. Because the problem they do is that when they take the license and they have licenses, I can take a license for here and then rise to another place and start mining. And when you come, I'll show you the license. And because immediately you cannot look at the coordinates, then you say, oh, he has his, no. We must get professionals to involve to be able to locate them.
But that raises issues about the regulator, doesn't it? Because I'm
coming there. I'm coming to how the regulation should be. You see, everything is concentrated in Accra. Everything. And that is one of the problem of the mining. If you want license to mine, you need to come to Accra maybe 10, 20 times. Because the mining is not only one institution. You have to go to the Ministry of Mines, you have to go to EPA, Ministry of Environment, They don't get the local people involved. The only where they even get the local people involved is just to do publication for us. 21 days. The land is not for nobody, that's all. The DCE or MCE will be there and he will see a Chinese mining behind his house. That is why when you go to Chebi, it is virtually in town. They are mining in town. There are people's rooms, houses. So what we are saying is that, one, look at all these Chinese people walking around. A lot of them came on tourist visas. A lot of them came on tourist visas. When they come, because they are very strong people, they can live in the worst conditions. So when they come, they don't live in Accra. They go into Ochibabiate, Apampetia, for Obobaji, for Sibadje. All those places are towns that people are in there deep. They bring their small generator and they can survive in there. But you see, when you give the local authority, the district chief executive, the assemblies, and them involving the chiefs, you give them authority before anybody goes to mine, his license or whatever should be issued through the district assembly. So that this assembly can be able to monitor where you are mining. Because you see, all these complaints, when you go, the cocoa farmer is there. He hears that my land has been sold out. When the cocoa farmer knows that, whether I give it to them or not, because the law says that all minerals in the land is for government. Right. So government says that I have sold the land. So all what he needs to do is to get compensation. And you know the compensation, if government valuers has to come and do the compensation, they will get just a small thing. Meanwhile, they can go on negotiation directly with the miners and get 20 times what they would have gotten if government is to value it. So what they do is that even when you have licenses or you don't have licenses, since government will give it to somebody anyway, then I will start giving it to you now and take my money before government gives it out. And this, so the regulator, what you see, the minister must sit down. He has given the ultimatum. All those excavators, I don't believe that they turn it in because I know the miners. They will never turn it unless some force is applied. Maybe whatever it is, they brought them out. One, those excavators shouldn't find their way back into the bush.
That's the point, yeah.
That is the first thing, because people will go and take all legal licenses and whatever.
Oh, no, please be wrapping up for me so I move to...
So what I'm saying is that I think that the minister's attitude is right, but the approach is a bit too fast. The first thing to do is to take, yes, too fast. The first people he need to, tackle are those mining directly in the water. Those, I am sure they don't have any license, no license. Then he must take his time to segregate the right ones, the wrong ones, and tackle that in all those Chinese people. Look, if the Chinese people want to buy gold, they should stay in Accra. Let our people use the Picasses and whatnot. Because at the end of the day, all the money goes back to the Chinese anyway.
Right. That's what small-scale mining is supposed to be, right? Not without the excavators and all of that.
Exactly. That is what we need.
And it's raising issues, big issues here. Mr. Jantua, let me hear from you on this. A number of issues raised here. Key amongst them being the functionality, if you like, of the regulator, the regulators to be able to discharge their obligations here in terms of monitoring, supervision, and all of that. How do we get onto that? Now, before you come in, let me just say that, the minister, like I was going to say earlier, on his tour, apparently the Daily Graphic reports that the minister was visibly upset with the Minerals Commission officials for allowing this menace to, go on. And also, another thing was that he was disappointed or shocked that the Minerals Commission didn't have a database of mining companies the Commission had given licenses to operate in some particular areas, which is very worrying. I think you, Honorable, alluded to that.
Just chip in
30 seconds and then Mr. Johnson.
The Mineral Commission, for example, one district in Oda is supposed to take care of Akwetia, Kwabi Brim, or in Oda,
so
and
issues
the
about logistics
whole personnel there are just about 10 or so, or even 5.
It's a difficult situation. Mr. Johnson, let me hear you.
Abner, I would not take Baba Jamal as an individual. I take Baba Jamal as the NDC. All the comments he's made, I should have made those comments. Not them. Not them. No, not them. You've been in power for 8 years.
Yes. So you should ask me what we did.
No, it's not a question of what you did. What you did not work. That's why we're in the situation we find ourselves in.
Fair to me.
I'm not being fair.
You're not being fair.
If you weren't in power, my party hasn't been in power for yonks. So if I come and I sit and I say whatever it is, you can never tell. I keep telling you, you can never tell. You can never tell. The MPP was out of power for nearly 30 years.
He came back.
He came back. Nothing is impossible under the sun that we live under. So let's go to the substantive issue. I do not see how a government that has just come out of power are talking the way they are talking. You had all the power in your hands to do something about this. And let's face it, if it hadn't been that mining was being done in water bodies, it would be quiet. Even with the use of excavators and all on land, if it hadn't gone to water bodies, it would be quiet. Now, the fault is not only on the politicians. The fault is also on Ghanaians. We ourselves. We are so addicted. And the way we have turned our economy where money is now number one, everybody will go for it.
Mr. Jantua, I totally agree with you. But you see, when that issue about collective responsibility comes in, I always cringe. Because I'm thinking, human beings, I keep saying this, human beings would always want to take liberties. And that's why you have laws.
Let me give you a typical example.
So the laws must be enforced.
Let me give you a typical example. There's a ban on now, eh?
Yes.
There's a ban on now. I'm reading your news item on online right now. It says, illegal mining activities along the Pra River in the western region continue unabated despite the coming into force the ban on all forms of illegal small-scale mining, popularly known as galamsey in the country. It's still going on. They can't be bothered. They cannot be bothered. And look,
and
they have their own made FPSOs. I can see it here in the picture. Their own homemade FPSOs on the water body.
Chamfine, that's the chamfine.
On the water body. And so, you see, right now, if you try and use force, the international community will say people's human rights. You're stopping people's human rights because you're using force to suck them from the life. Water is life. Look, this government in power now should do something very drastic where this is concerned. And let me give you some of the examples. I went to a mining seminar yesterday. I'm not in mining, but I was very interested to know what they were saying. And some of the things they came up with. One of the things they said was that because of poverty, galamsey is a direct and rational answer to poverty in the rural areas. And it enhances the economies in the rural areas in a way that conventional economies haven't done so. They also indicated that, look, they should suspend all activities of small-scale mining for a reasonable period to allow for the rejuvenation and settlement of the water bodies. Are we prepared to do that?
We should be.
Are we prepared to do that? They said, conduct a baseline study or audit of all forest and water bodies, chemical and physiological analysis. Conduct operational and environmental audit of all licenses of SS, small-scale mine operators. In the same period, review and bring up regulations to address the sector effectively, i.e. Chieftaincy Act and the Police Act. Because it looks as if most of these things happen with the knowledge of the chiefs and the fact that the police too can't act. Now, is government in power? And I'll ask my friend here, who is MP, are they prepared to do these things? Are they prepared to say that we are going to suspend activities till the rivers get their own life back? Because the next thing you hear about Jamal and him,
I think really we don't have a choice.
They will say that hey, if we ban eco-election, to my own. Because you see, because the issue is because of what they told them. If that threat has been issued, you use the law. You use the law to stop them.
Yes, and
use the law to stop them.
Yes, Honorable
Minister
tell us
of Lands and Natural
what happens
Resources
from here on?
has clearly indicated that damn the consequences, we are going to ensure that galamsey, particularly in the water bodies, is abolished completely.
But
we do not have a choice.
But you should know. You should know that galamsey also emanates somehow from members of your own party. From members of your own party.
Well, I don't have.
You mean members of political parties?
No,
from what
you don't know.
From
the example that
my constituency hasn't got
from the examples that we.
But I see the pra. And I get sad every time that I'm driving over the Biposo Bridge. Is this what we are doing to ourselves as a country?
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. Wontumi in Ashanti, when the NDC were doing their stuff and they burned his excavators, they knew he was doing galamsey. Did your party call him in? Did they call him in?
See, the question is all small-scale mining illegal? Clearly not. There are small-scale miners who are licensed to operate.
The question, listen,
no, but Mr. Tantua, allow him to carry on. I think allow him to carry on.
No, just to help him out. The fact that you have a small-scale mining license, it means you're legal. But if that small-scale mining license, you go and give it to somebody to do illegal mining, it's all right.
Or not complying with the rules.
Wait for me.
See, I agree. I agree with you entirely. And honest to God, I mean, we should not treat this matter with the usual politics that we play on most of the issues that bother us as a nation.
Oh, this time where we do.
This is a serious matter, particularly with respect to the water bodies.
Yes.
And I have said, that, you see, the ultimatum that was given, I see it as only the commencement of the real enforcement.
Exactly. So that's what my
Because
question is. What happens from here on?
Of course.
The
now
3 weeks are up. What happens?
Then they have to enforce and make sure that everybody who is involved in the illegal activities, particularly on our water bodies, is stopped. But they have to put out the military, the police in full force to stop them, remove them from our water bodies.
But we've heard some of the police are part of it.
Mr. Jackson, quick interjection.
There is a sense that there are influential people in your party who are involved. There's a sense that the police and the army are on the table.
Yes.
There's a sense that our chiefs
are part and parcel of
it. They're active participants in this. So, you know, if
but His Excellency the President has given a clear indication.
Hold on, this is
that
Ghana.
Not under his watch.
Mr. Honorable, allow him to finish with that and then you come in.
This is Ghana.
Finish it briefly and then
all we are saying,
or it's really meant on getting this thing done.
All we are saying is this. There is a sense that, are you going to be able to do what you're going to do? Are you going to be able to name and shame members of your party that are involved? Are you going to be able to name and shame chiefs that are involved?
The president
are you going to be able
clearly said so 2 days ago in Brongahafu, that not under his watch, and that if you are involved in an illegality, the law is going to deal with you. So it's only a matter of time that we all can come back here and discuss whether, in fact, he has lived up to his promise to the people of Ghana. And I expect the people of Ghana to hold him accountable. After all, why did we vote for him?
Mr. Jackson, you are pushing for a naming and shaming by the party itself. What about the law enforcement agencies to do their job?
In the law enforcement, what I'm saying is that we should have an official name and shame program, whistleblower program, that says that we want to know influential people, party members, chiefs,
I even think that this segmentation is unnecessary. Anybody who is flouting the law ought to be dealt with. Simplicity.
But the reason why I was seeking that distinction, Mr. Jackson.
There's a distinction there.
Yes, I was seeking that distinction because
don't blame that small Kojo Mensah in the corner.
I said anybody.
I'm saying that they are significant
to the extent that you are
flouting Mr. Jackson, the question is,
you ought to be dealt with.
Do you think, in the scheme of things, that, I mean, wouldn't it be for, I mean, us expecting too much that the government would actually come and name and shame? What are we to do? What other options?
With you,
yes.
But we have a member of the party stating that the president has laid down the law and we should hold them responsible.
Absolutely.
So,
and why not?
I'm just hoisting him by his own.
And why not?
So on that track, time will tell.
Held accountable.
Yes,
it's only a matter of time.
But let us note your remarks here today.
I don't have any difficulty.
Let us note your remarks here today.
No difficulty in sticking my neck out at all.
Thank you.
Because we
but as an individual or as a party, are you speaking for the party?
Government. Yes. We owe it a duty to ourselves. This is not kids play.
Yeah.
This is no joke matter.
Yeah.
This is serious. Our entire survival as a people is at stake.
Yes. We agree. You
have to do it.
We are on the same side.
Yeah.
All we do is there's a
I would even go further. That I will be extremely disappointed in His Excellency the President if he does not see this through.
Yes.
Amen.
We have to.
Well,
this is serious.
Let me take some messages at this point.
Apart from that, it has to be collective.
Of course,
in terms of everybody to make sure that the current government can succeed in doing this.
Because it's
that's why when Mr. Dantua was trying to say, what did we do? I say, yes, we might have not been able to stop it. But it does not mean
when the Chinese
please allow him.
It does not mean
when the Chinese
please allow him.
went to sleep.
No. Please allow him to speak.
You see, it does not mean that when the current administration is doing the right thing. That's why in that score we are with you.
Absolutely.
And we are all going to ensure that we help you to succeed. And this one, we are not saying that you are not. I don't think that you are saying that you are going to ban. You are going to ban mining, but you are going to ensure that all Ghanaians who are polluting our water bodies.
Yes.
That's the only way. On that sense, we are with you.
Yes.
Very well. I will take some
That's
messages. I will take some messages. Mr. Jackson, please, I'm taking messages.
About how our Galamsey has united this country.
I know. I mean, it's a national issue.
Yes, they also went to sleep on the job. When
Gentlemen,
NDC
please
were
let
in power,
me
they didn't
take
say
the views
anything
of our
about what they were doing about
and
Galamsey.
viewers.
They also went to
Okay,
sleep.
that's also important here. So let
But
me
you are
do
also in
this.
opposition. What did you say?
Well,
Al Hassan.
you say we are not coming to power in
Please,
30
I'm
years.
taking some messages.
Yeah, whether we're in opposition or not is neither here nor there.
Al Hassan Bako in
The whole
Tamale
party
says
was
Abna Galamsey activities will subside but will not stop until government finds a lasting solution to the whooping unemployment problems in this country. We members of the Unemployed Trained Teachers Association are appealing to President Nana Akufo-Addo to consider our members for employment and posting to the public schools throughout the country. I think we need to discuss this issue, linking the Galamsey to unemployment and the fact that it can be stopped only if we fix the issue of unemployment.
No, I gave you the statistics.
That's true,
There's
but I
about 3
think there
million
needs to
people
be a
involved.
certain
Throwing them onto the street
conscientization
is serious.
to the people.
It's
Don't you think
serious,
so?
yeah.
That yes, you can't justify this
because
illegality.
Because it's employing them, they should continue an illegality.
No, what we are saying is that...
Well, somebody's asking Mr. Babajamal.
They should have been there in the first place.
In fact, some of them were not there. They were born there.
Can I read some messages here? And this one, please.
If you know the genesis of
Honorable Babajamal and Mr.
there.
Joshua, allow me to read some
We're
messages.
actually
Okay?
born there.
This is coming in from, he didn't add, the person didn't add the name, but it's to you, Mr. Jamal. He says, good morning, Abner, please ask Mr. Babajamal the solution he's given, whether his solution he's given were with him when they were in power.
Oh yes, they were with me, but
It's just they were not implemented, but
if
we're
they were not
moving on.
implemented, it does not mean
So why didn't they implement it?
Oh no.
Did you not offer it?
You see, in government as a government has its own way of handling things. You may be an individual in the government, but it does not mean that you are the all-knowing. People may have alternatives.
And if that way
in that sense, in the mining,
that way is not helping.
in the mining,
Let me carry on.
people had people. Oh, please.
Let me carry on. Now this one is coming
your
from
minister has started begging.
Honorable Babajamal
You have to be
and
careful.
Honorable
When
Mesa.
you come to the Chinese, you have to be careful. He was
Gentlemen,
begging.
please.
And is that
Let's
not?
have
It
some
was
order.
this one. It was on
Put
video.
it in proper context.
Please,
Video,
let's
not
have
proper
some
content. He was begging.
order.
Moral suasion.
Honorable Mesa,
That
I'm
is,
reading the
get
text
your people
messages.
off Galamsey, because we are coming after them.
Abdullahi alias Minister Zantani in the Tolon constituency says, Abna, I think Galamsey is something that Ghanaians must collectively fight against in order to reserve the land for the future generation. Says you, the media, are doing a marvelous job in the fight against Galamsey. Jamal is saying, hello, the NDC are saying when the bond matures, the foreigner will come and take his money and change it into dollars and send it to his country. What if a Ghanaian abroad does same? Comes to invest, wait for bond to mature, and comes and takes his money and changes it into dollars and sends it back outside Ghana. He says, please ask Honorable Babajamal, is it different? Another one coming in still on the bond is the best opinion I have read about this $2.25 billion issue was the one by Dr. Gachi, head of the Finance Department of the University of Cape Coast. This was published yesterday by 3FM, and this is Kwabna and Achimota. Al Hassan in New Asnamaso says, so far so good. The 100 days of President Akufo-Addo's administration has been excellent with regards to the following. He says, Nigeria gas debt of 60 million paid, Zongo Development Fund, 1 district, 1 factory to kick off in June, inflation reduced, restoration of teachers and nurses, training allowances, and so on. He says, my worry is the increase in transport fares while price of fuel drops. Other than that, scoring 103 points in 100 days is a comfortable lead. Good morning to you all. This one says, please, I would like you to use your medium to advise the politicians to stop using says stinking remarks intended to belittle or rebuke others. Sarcasm is often meant to be humorous, really, but it can quickly deteriorate into disrespect, insulting speech. Humor can add spice to our speech, but we need to avoid the trap of trying to evoke a laugh by resorting to cutting sarcastic quibs that hurt or humiliate others. Okay, your advice is well taken, I'm sure. Now, we'll move on to the issue about, I'm being told that there's some development on the conflicts in Konya Alavanyo area, but you're watching and listening to New Day Saturday edition live on TV3. We're also live on 3FM 92.7. We're also live on Connect 97.1 FM in Takoradi, and we're streaming live on the internet at 3news.com, also on our Facebook page and on the GhanaWeb.com. I will take some messages and then return to the panel. This one is coming in from Citizen Francis. He says, in the name of short term again, galamseyers are eroding the beauty and bountiful riches of our land, polluting our water bodies with dangerous chemicals like mercury. How long shall they continue to plunder while we stand aside and look? Let's help stamp out the canker of galamsey today. Hashtag stop galamsey now. Good morning, Abna. My good friend Baba is seriously struggling to articulate his views on the subject matter, and I guess that's how the minority will be this time, when they can't substantiate their allegations with facts. I am disappointed, seriously. Guess you should, he says, we should move on to a different topic. Okay, I'm sure you're satisfied now because we did. Abna, the NDC is behaving as if this is their first time in opposition. They seem not to be learning fast. I'm disappointed in the posture of the minority. They should put their house together to give Ghana a better opposition party that can really put the government on its toes. This is Abdul Salam from Bimbilla. Good morning to you all, please. I would like to, I think I read this one already, sorry. Let's go on. This one says, Abna, okay, you're saying I shouldn't be sarcastic and allow Mr. Baba Jamal to make his point. Okay, I hear you, but I don't think I was being sarcastic. But anyways, good morning, Abna. Please, to be honest with you today, I'm so confused with this finance minister's issue, because the time used to address the issue was not enough. So please, can your station do something about your time in this kind of issues, which every Ghanaian is interested? I think Mr. Janto will agree to that because he mentioned that too. But I think the production team is listening. We'll see how best to apportion the time next time on. Now let me take this last one from our Hassan Bako in Tamale. He says, Abna, galamsey activities will subside but will not stop until government finds a lasting solution. I read this one already, so we can move on to look at the Alavanyo and Konya issue. We will be talking to TV3 correspondent in the area, Peter Kwao Adato, at some time in the course of our discussions to give us some updates on the issue there. But yes, we've heard reports of the conflict in the area being renewed, with some gunshots heard here and there. A couple of, I think 2 people reported dead and some others sustaining gunshot wounds and all of that. This has been a protracted issue over land, we're told, for about a century or so. Mr. Jantua, let me pick your brains on this. What is the way to go, or how do we get on with this?
Well, I'm reading that the leaders, the chiefs in the area, have suspended the chiefs in that area for not being able to hold the peace. 94 years, Abuna, is a very long time.
Yes.
And I hear now the government indicating that they are going to take over those lands because it could stem the rioting. But will it really stem the rioting?
That's a suggestion.
Yeah, it's a suggestion that is trending. Will it stop it? What is the real...
Perhaps to the extent that nobody could lay claim to it then, because then government has now, taking over.
It depends on what the government also is going to use the land for and who they now benefit. Is it either this side or that side? So we need to get to the root of the matter. Now, what caused this? I'm reading that...
Mr. Janto, please hold your thoughts. We have Peter Adato on the line. Let's get to him. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, good morning, Peter, and thanks for joining us. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Very well. Can you bring us up to speed on the situation there? What's happening? We heard you report earlier that there were some gunshots this morning. Can you confirm that?
Yes, indeed, there has been gunshots. According to the information I gathered from the security around, throughout the night they have to be awake because there were gunshots from the mountain. Yesterday, when I visited Nkunya, I was told there had been gunshots from the area, but I've not heard it myself. So this morning I decided to, as part of my work, to visit also to hear from the community and the security out there to know the exact situation so that I can have a complete report on the issue. I got to the town exactly 8 o'clock and I visited the police. They were briefing me about the situation and I called the paramount chief. He asked me to wait for him in 30 minutes time. He'll be in town, so he can brief me. Just as his men were giving me the information from the paramount chief, the gunshot began again on the mountain. They call it Tuji, which means literally a red mountain. And the military and the police have to fire back. It has been on for almost 30 minutes. Periodically, they fire, the police will have to fire, they fire intermittently. 5 minutes, 6 minutes, they have to start again. It is just now that for about 10 minutes now, we haven't heard anything again.
So for within the past 10 minutes, you haven't heard any gunshots?
Yes, for the past 10 minutes now, it has ceased for now, and the military men are moving around town, and as the chief arrived for us to conduct the interview.
But can you tell us, in your investigations or in your interaction with the people there, what brought this about? What triggered this? We do know that indeed this has been a long-standing issue there, dispute there, but what brought this about, the renewal of the conflicts, if you like?
Yeah, it is because of the two men that were killed 3 days ago or 4 days ago from Kenya. That is the current situation. But as to why these two men or three, in fact, three were shot, but one is currently on admission. As to why these three men and others who have gone to start palm wine were shot in the bush, nobody can tell at the moment.
But can you confirm whether there have been any arrests so far?
According to the police, there has been no arrest. I spoke to the regional crime officer yesterday. There has been no arrest yet.
Okay, and just before you go,
investigation.
Okay, just before you go, could you give us a sense of what the community's mood, the mood of the community is? Are people going about their normal activities, or what? What exactly is happening there?
Okay, in both communities, I can say there is an easy camp. Nobody is free. I'm told going to the farm, some people, even the paramount chief, as I speak to you, is granting me an interview in his auntie's house because his house is very close to where the thing is happening. So he can't go to his house now. Others also have to move uptown to avoid being caught in the crossfire. So currently, I wouldn't say it is safe at all in both communities. The two communities are complaining about safety, about their livelihood, how to go to farm, how to do undertake everything as normal. It's not happening now.
Right. Thank you very much, Peter. I'm sure we'll definitely be linking up at some point later in the day for an update. But thank you so much, and keep safe. Stay away from trouble.
Right. Thank you.
Very well. Thank you so much. So yes, that's bringing us up to speed with the situation there. People, pretty much not being able to go about their daily activities. They're living in fear. They feel unsafe.
Up now. Our security services are letting us down, including our Minister for National Security, including our Minister of Interior. And why do I say that? Why are there so many guns everywhere? Right now, we have this case on our hands. If the Galamsey people decide to get guns,
which they do.
Invisible forces and Delta forces also decide to get guns.
We
are in a serious situation. Serious situation. And this, trying to claim guns from individuals, citizens, should be an ongoing process. Where are these guns coming from? Who is selling them the guns? Who is making the guns? And we sit and we're doing absolutely nothing about it, because the next time it would be in your neighborhood. You'll be coming out of your car, opening your gate, pam! They shoot you just because you're driving a nice car. Just because you're driving a nice car. They have to nip it in the bud. We now have a minister for what? National security. He should work. That is the first point of call. Apart from all the skirmishes going on there, the first point of call is to claim the guns. Inspector General of Police, get into every region and start claiming these guns. It is not helpful. It is scary. Now the people in this area, what did he just say? I'm calm. Everybody's unstable. Look, if you have experienced a coup before, you know exactly what guns can do. One of the bloodiest coups we've had in this country is 66. Bloodiest. 66. And you see guns being fired around you, and we sit and we do nothing. For me, that is the number one thing, because the moment guns get in the hands of all sorts of different people, you're in danger. Forget Galamsey. They can kill you at random. And what did he say when you asked whether they've been able to catch anybody? The police haven't been able to catch anybody. And so, Honorable, I'll tell you, Parliament, your party, Ghanaians collectively, NDC, CPP, Joe, everybody, the way the media has now taken Galamsey on, we should take that on to claim these guns. It's not helping us.
That's true. Very, very, very true statement there.
If there is a guarantee that the commencement of the fight against guns will not put Galamsey on the back burner.
It won't.
I mean, we could do it in tandem.
It doesn't have to. Why should it? Why should they
don't live in this country?
It could be done simultaneously.
This is not a caveat on the fight on the Galamsey.
I'm only saying
the two are threatening our lives.
To the extent that it will not be put on the back burner.
It wouldn't be.
It's a challenge that I'm throwing to all of us.
Very well, that's fine. It wouldn't be. It could be done. But let me.
We should.
Yes.
Because look, we are faced with a myriad of problems in this country, which all needs urgent attention. Galamsey is one. Incessant conflict all over. The other day was Abu Blushi in the north, sometime back, and now Alavanyo
and the basis is guns.
Yes. So
basis is guns.
I don't want to go to apportion blame, because we are confronted with the situation. The guns are here. As to when they came, it wasn't 2-3 months ago. They've been with us. So the challenge is for us collectively, like you said, to seek to work to ensure that we take guns out of our homes. And how do we do it? Because the truth of the matter too is that we know that the spate of armed robbery and all those kinds of things compels people, private people, to want to
defend themselves.
Absolutely. Because our police, unfortunately, are not up to task.
But let me bring...
So it's a problem that we all as a people need to think through and see where the resources are allocated properly to ensure that...
And pursue them simultaneously as we go. We don't put one above the other or whatever. We just try to deal with the situation as
But the reality is, when a new issue comes up, the old one always seems to be put on the back burner. So I'm saying that we should
be mindful of that.
And then push all the issues that are critical to us at the same time.
Sure. But this Nkonya Alavanyo issue, it's definitely the cause is a land dispute for 94 years.
But this wasn't based on land.
Two
people went into their farm, went to tap palm wine, and the next thing you heard,
but we don't know exactly. But we don't know exactly what might have.
If you know the Nkonya and Alavanyo, the situation there, these are two. I mean, the same people there that one is called Alavanyo, one is called. It's similar, the same with this, almost the same. The farm crisscrosses. That is where the problem is. This one claims this is my land. This one claims this is my land. You understand? And so,
is there no documentation on the lands that they have?
Oh, of course, you are living in Ghana, and you know that a lot of our lands don't have those documentations. You know that.
But it is wrong.
But you see, it is sad that up to today, as a country, we've not been able to find a solution to this Alavanyo Nkonya problem. It's sad. It's a sad situation. 94 years. Leave the olden days when we didn't. Let's take it modern Ghana. Starting from 60 years old, and it is sad that up to today we've not been able to go, like you are saying, document the area, try and even demarcate the area, try to move people and ensure that people are settled.
I think earlier on behind the scenes, Mr. Jackson mentioned an issue about the court judgments being given. So let's hear from him on that.
Honorable, I disagree with you. if you look at the genesis of this problem, and let's make sure that we don't commit an injustice in the name of peace. Alavanos migrated to Nkonya. If you read the history, it was as far back as 1840. At that time, that whole area was governed by the Germans. And there's a Dr. Hans Gruner who mapped out which areas are now being settled by Alavanyo and which areas have been settled by Nkonyas. Right? In the genesis of the problem started in 1923 when Alavanyos beat up certain Nkonya elders for supposedly encroaching. This matter went to court. In 31, as far back as 1931, there was an agreement on where the boundaries are. The Alavanyos have sought to demarcate these boundaries. It went to court in 1953. The Nkonyas won. There was an appeal in 57. The Nkonyas won. There was another appeal in 59. The Nkonya won. In 1970, the Alavanyos were supposed to even pay tenancy for some places that they had been sitting on. As far back as 75, a request for redemarcation was denied, and the court says this case should be, I don't know the exact, it's finished, final judgment. Don't bring this matter up again. We still have this issue going on. What I'm saying is that we have on record which area belongs to Nkonya and which area belongs to Alavanyo, even though the whole area admittedly was Nkonya and Alavanyo migrated. At one point, people said, listen, even though they migrated, they stayed here, they stayed here long enough. So these areas belong to them. Let's not act as if there's a fight going on, there is a way to establish whose land it is and to enforce that ruling. Let's not allow, and here I have to agree that we will come back to the Minister of Interior. Take up the issue. The sad thing is that in Ghana, there is always some sort of alignment, tribal alignment with political parties. So when my party is in power, it gives me the right to take revenge on things that have happened in the past. And when your party comes into power, it gives you the right. And that's the genesis. And it's happening all over the country, not just in Alavanyo and in Nkonya.
But Joe, it could happen that this land issue you've just narrated is going through the courts.
It's been through the courts, and the courts have fixed it. We know where the boundaries are.
But there could be some people with personal interest who seem to want to trigger and use this as the cause of all this problem. It could be those who are selling guns. It could be anybody who feels that they can use this type of situation for their own personal interest.
Authorities should come in to enforce the judgment.
That's what I'm saying. Let's enforce it.
So we are not disagreeing. We are not. What I was saying is that it is sad that as a country,
I think what Mr. Jackson was saying is that there's no issue about who
we have not been able. We have not been able to resolve this matter in such a way that it will ensure lasting peace in that area. And all of us, I think it's about time we do that. And I wanted to allude to the fact that it is also because of this political alignment which is making it sometimes difficult to resolve some of these conflicts.
Exactly.
And so if we are able to depoliticize some of these issues, I think that we'll be able to
another
them.
issue.
But you see, we are living in a time where we are living in a time where we have eight ministers who are supposed to handle security matters in this country. 8 ministers. So you have the Minister of the Interior, we have the Minister of Defense, we have the Deputy, we have the National Security. Never in the history of Ghana do we have so many people who are concerned to man a small area like that area. But look at the confusion that we have. That is why, that is why it is important that the government puts its acts together. It is important, because whether you like it or not, you are in charge now. And so when there is a problem, you are the one we were going to run to help. So it is important that if NDC use 3-4 ministers and we're able to maintain some peace there, 8 ministers should do better. The
issue has become NDC used 3.
As a government, use 3 people to do this lovely job. 8 people should do better.
Okay, so Honorable is using the proportion argument here. We get you. That's fine. I think that the point is well made. We need the authorities to come in here to deal with the situation. I mean, we can't entertain this any longer. But the point about this, the arms is a very important one as well. We have the Small Arms Commission also. The issues there, what is being done about it. That's the point. Again, coming to
it's a vicious cycle
functionality of regulators, or statutory bodies set up to do certain things. How are they able to work is the issue.
Abner, this new government in place should look at how they are going to strengthen our institutions.
Fantastic. For me, I think that's
the institutions, nothing would work.
Exactly. Everything, total chaos.
Institution building.
Very well. Let me take some messages, and then I think we can move on to look at the Planting for Food and Jobs program, which was launched earlier in the week. So this one is coming in from IB. He says, total ban on all mining to enable natural reclaim of our water bodies. Then a holistic reissuing of licenses with an evaluation and monitoring policy, and severe punishment of professionals who fail to carry out their duties properly. And Tamaklo says, with the issue of Galamsey, it does not only involve the Chinese, but also Nigerians, Ivorians, Burkinabes, and others. So let's not only focus our attention on the Chinese. So, well, the point is, regardless of which nationality, if it's an illegality, it is an illegality which needs to be stamped out. This land issue between Alavanyo and Nkonya is becoming unbecoming in this country. So I want to urge the government to do something seriously about it. This is William Damali in Ho. Jamal says, no, this is Imponi in Wa. He says the fight against Galamsey shouldn't be left on the shoulders of the government and the media alone. It should be all inclusive. I urge the what's LGP? I'm not sure what that is, but he urges somebody or an institution to create a division within his jurisdiction to be in charge of environmental degradation and pollution. And this is from Alaji Mpuni. What is the LGP, by the way? Maybe I'm missing out something, but anyways, let's carry on. He says, please ask the NPP representative why Nanado didn't choose a military or police person as national security minister. Let's carry on. Adam Abdul says, the visionary policy of planting for food and jobs is far better than the NDC policy of create, loot and share, because if you sow a rotten seed as a farmer, you will never have a bumper harvest. In 8 long years of NDC government, they have never introduced one single policy to boast about agri-production. This I guess this text message takes us, it leads us into the next topic, which is the Planting for Food program that was launched earlier on in the week by the president. This is clearly consistent with the president's message when he delivered the State of the Nation address, where he talked about the intention of government to actually implement this or put this program in place. Now, Honorable Mesa, let me start from you. But before that, let's take a story by the network on this particular topic. We'll be back.
Planting for Food and Jobs project is one of the key social intervention programs adopted by the Akufo-Addo-led government in the agricultural sector, with a budgetary allocation of more than 500 million cedis. This, the finance minister also confirmed.
This initiative, Mr. Speaker, is expected to increase the production of maize by 30% from the current production levels, rice by 49%, soybean by 25%, and sorghum by 28%.
Just like Operation Feed Yourself, implemented in the 70s by Ignatius Kutu Echampon's government, the project seeks to boost the production of crops like maize, millet, and beans. The project is expected to employ about 750,000 people, with 1,200 graduates engaged.
This year we expect that with these interventions, only the 200,000 or so farmers will be able to increase the demand for jobs on the farms themselves and create 750,000 jobs.
Fertilizers, seedlings and farm implements from government would also form a key component of the project.
Government has also resolved to build 1,000 metric ton warehouse capacity in each of the 216 districts to ensure that we have enough storage capacity to store and market the expected increases that we expect from this program.
The Food and Agric Minister says all is set for the project to be launched by President Akufo-Addo at Goso in the Bonavo region.
Great. So that was the sector minister speaking to the issue there. So back to the panel here. This program is ultimately aimed at, addressing two things, according to the president.
Yes.
Youth unemployment, and then also, of course, ensuring food security. Perhaps a laudable initiative and all, but how do we ensure that this program helps us to, achieve the objective we've always wanted in the agriculture sector, which has to do with, perhaps a modernized agricultural sector, which would then lead to industrialization and, greater yields and all of that? How does this transform the agricultural sector for us as a nation?
Well, it will take time, but I believe that having regard to where we're coming from, where agriculture essentially has been on the decline, it was important for the new government to implement a policy that would address that situation. We all know that agric growth reached some 7.4% in 2008-2009. It's dwindled to about 2.8% in 2016. Agric clearly is the bedrock of this economy. The contribution of agric over the years is been pretty significant. And
but it's been declining in recent times,
yes, employs a significant numbers of our people. But because of the decline and the lack of investments that have been going in there, most of the youth who ordinarily would have been expected to participate in agriculture were all migrating down into the urban areas in search of non-existent jobs. So this policy, and of course, the import bill that we have been spending, our scarce foreign exchange resources that has been going into importation of agric is clearly unsustainable. So it is important that this policy succeeds, because it is intended to achieve, one, addressing the rural-urban migration mix, and then also the reduction and sustainability of our import bills. Government in this regard has set out to implement some key policies that clearly would help in achieving that, by the improved seedlings that are going to be made available to our farmers, the fertilizers that have been reduced significantly, the warehouses that is proposed to be built across the country to ensure that whatever bumper expectation that is expected would be adequately stored, and of course the marketing aspect.
And then there's a provision of extension services.
Agric extension officers who for the past 3 or 4 years have never been employed. This year alone, I understand that 1,500 of these extension officers have been engaged, and the plan is to engage an additional 2,000 in 2008. Very, 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 very impressive program. I expect that with the kind of focus that the president and the government is putting to it, it would turn out to be a successful program. I expect that when it is rolled out completely, the increase in rice production, maize production, and soybean, together with the other policies that the government is seeking to put in place. Of course, we all know.
But let me interrogate further. So clearly, with the production of supply of quality seedlings, fertilizer, and everything, the whole idea is to enhance yields.
Of course.
You're talking about the warehouses to help.
One dam would encourage all year farming.
Right.
The one district, one factory, which essentially has been stated that it is intended to add value to our great produce. This are raw materials that would go into feeding some of these industries. So it's a complete mix that...
Right, but back to what I was saying about the bumper harvest and all of that. I mean, one of the major challenges farmers have complained about really has to do with pricing and the fact that they're not able to get the prices they would want for their produce. And so it's either, they sell at certain, basically compromised prices. How do we ensure that that challenge is dealt with? For the cocoa sector, for instance, you have mandated bodies buying at certain prices. So there's a certain guaranteed price in that regard. So there's a ready market, as it were. How do we ensure that with the increase in yields, which is what this program seeks to bring about, how do we ensure that that side of the equation is also dealt with in terms of access to ready markets, the question about pricing?
I believe that's why the marketing component is also a critical function of this. And of course, if you produce and you cannot store, then you are compelled to sell it off immediately on the market for whatever price that is offered. But if there's an opportunity to properly store them, then you don't have to sell it because of what you get immediately, because you can then store it and then subsequently when demand is high, So it's a complete mix, and like I always say, this is a new policy. Of course, it's been likened to Operation Feed Yourself, which was a champion government initiative in the 70s. I expect this to be a much more improved version of that, if you like, and so the other, you see, you ought to look at it broadly, because the government is seeking to roll out industrialization as a key component of its program for the development of our country. And how do you roll out industrialization? You need to have the product for the industries to take.
Right.
So the one district, one factory is a useful complement to the planting for food and jobs.
Okay.
Of course, the all year round farming that is being encouraged clearly would be fed by the dams and boreholes and irrigation systems that are going to be developed. So this is a very, 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 very critical policy, and I expect that it will go a long way to reduce our unemployment situation, because the expectation is that it's going to create about 750,000 direct and indirect jobs in the first year. And I know that the plan is to roll out with these selected produce, and that subsequent years other produce are going to be added on to make attain the place that it deserves in our country.
Honorable Baba Jamal has been itching to speak.
Yes, I'm not itching. I'm just finding it interesting that he referring to it as a new policy. It's a laudable idea, but it's not a new policy. This policy is one of the policies of the previous government that has been picked up, dusted, painted, and shown to Ghanaians as new thing. It is not, because this program is supposed to run primarily on the $120 million fund that was negotiated during the previous government with Canada. So when the president mentioned this in SONA, State of the Nation's address, that funds have been secured, we know that is the fund they were talking about, because that fund has already been secured. A date actually has been fixed. March 2017, the program was supposed to start. And we were naming it as MAPO. You understand? We were naming that program as MAPO because we rather, instead of what they are calling it, the planting for jobs, we were calling it modernizing agriculture productivity to local economy. So it's not a new thing.
That's fine, yes.
And so my only problem with them is that good idea, good initiative, but at least acknowledge. Because I think that this issue of, they have faced this problem before, the plagiarizing issue, they should have learned from it. You see, when you take somebody's idea, you need to acknowledge that this was one of the good policies initiated by the previous government. But be it as it may, it's a good idea. Of course, brilliant initiative. I am happy that they are following the laid down points that we have planned to make sure that they have warehouses, storage facilities in the various districts to ensure that as the local people produce, they won't have this issue of waste, some going rotten and all the things. So we are with them on that, and I think that, of course, the only thing is that when you learn somebody's dancing, if you are not careful, you can't dance in well. But we will be there to give them the guidelines to ensure that it is in the interest of Ghana. You see, one of the things why I'm very happy about this is that he's talking about extension officers. These are a critical group of people that we need to make sure that agriculture will grow in this country. I mean, we have underutilized a lot of them. Some of them are even lying. There are no equipment, no means of transport, so they can't even visit the farms. But under this program, it is supposed to get them go to the people almost on constant basis so that they ensure that what they want to achieve with the program is achieved. Of course, once that is done properly, you link it to the market, you link it to industry, you link it to every part of the economy. And I think that is a fantastic one. And I think that whilst implementing it, they must always acknowledge the brain behind it.
Very well.
It's important.
Sure. So let's carry on.
You see, he mentioned the agri extension officers as a critical component of the program.
You're going to say they didn't work with them.
For 3 years, not one.
That's fine.
No, but
times
that's
have
how we
changed.
got this
They're going
fund.
to be. They're
That's
going
why we
to
got this fund.
be
From 2000,
that's why we
recruited.
got it. It's a process. That's why we got this fund.
Let's not
to
get
make
hung
sure
up
that
on this.
we only tickle yourself.
Let's not get hung up on this situation. Mr. Jantua. Mr. Jantua, I'm coming to you. Mr. Jantua.
Abner.
Yes.
They say the proof of the pudding is where?
It's in the eating.
It's in the eating. And to listen to this project, the theoretical side of it is absolutely fantastic. It's a good thing. It's the implementation where the challenge is going to be. And let's face it, it's not only the actual commodities that we are going to grow. The other affiliated things that are part and parcel of it should be looked at. And for me, the number one thing is roads. We're talking about 2.5 million farmers who are supposed to benefit from this. Government has earmarked 560 million cedis in the budget. Now, the other side of it is also looking at the type of commodities and produce we are going to grow. Yes, food is key. That's number one. However, are we looking at those commodities that have added value? Whereby, once we start growing it, it is earmarked for the type of industries that we are going to bring up. So, number one, which I didn't hear, was cotton. Cotton, which would now bring up our fabric textile industries. The other was cocoa. Not only buying cocoa and exporting, but adding value to cocoa. Look, I don't understand why a country like Switzerland is the number one chocolate producer and they don't produce one seed of cocoa. And we are in Ghana here. We produce Golden Tree, the best chocolate you can ever eat, and it's going nowhere. There are different factors that need to make this program work. And one of the major things is that the stakeholders who are supposed to be helped should be made to feel that the project is theirs. So, this week, they were interviewing the Minister of Agriculture on one of the radio stations. And the assertion was made that the peasant farmers were complaining that they weren't consulted. What was the answer of the Minister of Agriculture? That is not important. What is important is the program. Yes, the program is important, but those who are going to be part and parcel of it should feel that it is ours. Should be able to stop the young person who wants to move from the rural area to the urban area and say that, look, we are starting this program here. Agriculture is going to help our economy in this rural area. Don't go. So that they are part and parcel of it from the word go. I would have even expected that the president, because for him, agriculture is one of his key areas, I would have expected that the president and the Minister of Agriculture would have a huge gathering at Conference Center of all farmers.
All 2.5.
Well, whatever it is, they have representatives.
You mean before the launch of this?
Before the launch.
Yes.
Before the launch. For Ghanaians to see. Because what Ghanaians are looking for is action. How are you going to implement this? Some of the things you said are laudable. How are you implementing it? You call them, you sit them down. You get their views. You let us see. Look, today, the media can go anywhere. Even in pens, there are cameras. Let people see what you are doing, so that we can all buy into it. Go back to the Champon era. When he was doing Operation Feed Yourself there, we all got into it. We were even having small funds in our own houses.
So you are looking at the buy-in issue.
Yes, because we don't want a situation where this 560 million has been given or granted, it has come. And then
earmarked, not yet
earmarked.
in hand.
Let's be positive and say that it's going to come. Then in 4 years' time, we realize that nearly 4.6 million of that was wasted, and only 160 million was used. Wasted effort. But if people are part of it, any government that now comes in would be mandated. They would see that they cannot go away from it. They have to be part and parcel of it. And it then continues to grow gradually. Let's be part of it. Let all of us be part of it. Look, I say that we've reached a point in Ghana now where partisan politics is to the backside. Because we are not doing politics, we are building a nation. Hence, everybody is trying, even the NDC, who have just gotten out of power, are congratulating some of the things the MPP are doing. They didn't do it in their time, but they are doing it now.
You are showing them good government.
Yes, they are doing it now. You see, so for me, it is so important. It is so important that those produce and those things that we are going to grow are things that would also now trigger into other things. The other thing that I also want to say is that...
But let me ask you, because currently we do know of the produce, rice, sorghum, soybean, some selected vegetables, maize, of course. Do you think that would help?
They left one out.
With that?
They left one out.
You said you were looking at...
Yes, they left one out. Peanuts, groundnuts. Most of the farmers in the north are groundnut growers.
So that's my question. So do you think, or do you not think? Just a minute. These crops, as mentioned, do you think it would be able to,
add value?
Add value, yes. Given the concept of the one district, one factory.
You know where the sorghum is concerned. The breweries, especially Guinness, are now using it on a large scale. As to the factories, we still haven't been told which factories are what and which are going where.
Well, we do know that 51 districts have been identified.
Yes, but Abna, the fact is...
They are bringing this
the fact is, Abna, the fact is, if you have a vision of setting up factories, you need to have an equal vision of getting the produce and the crops to be able to help those factories. Now, I was going to the money side. For me, right now, we've gotten to a stage where, and I'm beginning to get to understand when the government says they are going to review the Petroleum Revenue Management Act, I'm beginning to understand it gradually. I'm beginning to accept it. Because there are two things we need money for: agriculture and railway. Key, agriculture and railway. Because if we are going to do this project throughout the country, we need to be able to transport.
Infrastructure, right.
We can't depend on the trucks that we're using today to use to transport if we have bumper harvest. We need railway. So, where the oil industry is concerned, now that we have 2 fields in operation, we have 3. Let's
it's time to review their priority areas?
Yes, okay. Not even only priority areas. Try to say to ourselves that a certain percentage of the oil revenue is going to be used for agriculture and railway for the next 5 years. So that by the time we finish, we know that we have used the money well, We know that it's created employment. We know that we have started a new transportation system that would now even move into passenger.
Very well. We'll need to take a break here. When we come back, okay, we can carry on. So, unless you're done, I move on to.
So in that, guys, this government, I always hear the president talking. He's always talking. He's always looking at his vision. He's always trying to, you know, convince Ghanaians. The people who are supposed to now implement, are they tuned into that vision?
Absolutely.
Because I did not like, and he's my friend.
The response of the minister?
Yes, he's my relative. I did not like his response. It did not show me that he had tuned into that vision. He could have said it in a different way. Yes, we haven't consulted them. However, we have plans to do it.
Very well.
But it looked, and forgive the word I use, it looked a bit arrogant in terms of the way he answered the question.
Okay, so that's how you interpret it,
yes.
But that's fine. Let me go to Mr. Jackson, and then we have your take on this issue. Planting for food and jobs. The program as it is, where is it taking us?
There's a bit of confusion in my mind. Admittedly, the whole program, as it's been put out as a vision, is fantastic. Now, what I'm wondering is, which part will address the existing smallholder farmers conclusively? Which part will bring in new players into the market? And which part will get all of us?
Because the bulk of the population is already in farming. Really.
Yes, so I'm not sure. Scattered. I'm not sure. I hear all sorts of good ideas, but I'm not clear in my mind, because the process of bringing new people into, new players into into farming, it's a very different. The issues of land tenure and stuff like that. That's to one side. The process of getting existing smallholder farmers to buy into this vision, it's fine to put out improved seedlings, etc. But as a finance person, I'm listening to where's the access to finance that's coming to play. How are we?
They've already put down 560
No, that is the budget for the program, but in terms of access to finance, in terms of farmers.
Yes, because the farmer, are you going to give the fertilizer out for free?
Well, they have reduced fertilizer prices.
Even if you reduce it,
you still need to buy.
You will still need to buy it.
Maybe the 560 is possible.
Let him land and then you can come into.
All I'm saying is this, that the vision is laudable. We all agree. If there's one single magic bullet to help get this country, lift up this country, it will be agric. But we have to make sure that that process is well laid out, so that it doesn't seem like we're just throwing
policies around.
I have one. I wonder, why were roots and tubers not part of this process? Ghana is the biggest exporter of roots and tubers in the whole of West Africa. We're not the biggest producers, but they're the biggest exporters of roots and tubers out of West Africa. The roots and tuber value chain, because of its processing and storage possibilities, from gari to agbelima to
starch and all
kukunte and on and on and on, interestingly, is equal in value to the cocoa value chain. So there are a number of gaps there that I'm looking for, that I'm not really getting, and there's a grand vision put out, but I'm actually waiting to see what the elements are, so that in our minds we can start. You see, because remember that in all this, we live in a country where even this money is not really enough. Where's the private sector participation? Where's the buying, like Kwame's talked about here, to say, where's the smallholder buying? Where do I position my firm and myself in this process? And so there's a bit more clarification that we are waiting for.
In terms of the operationalization of
exactly. As for the vision,
it's fantastic.
It's fantastic. Nobody can
deny that it's not.
It's not. Nobody can snipe at that vision. But we need a bit more clarification. I unfortunately have to identify with Kwame here. The lack of consultation of the smallholder farmer who forms the bulk of has me worried. It's not a fatal issue.
It could be remedied,
but it does carry some weight. That don't put policies top down. For me, the lack of clarity between where the new players, how the new players are going to flow into this program, and how existing players are going to move forward is important, because the new players are the ones who, if you say you're going to create jobs,
they have different needs.
They have different needs and different requirements. So there's on our side, there's a bit of, let's see a bit more clarification. Let's have that grand vision has been laid out, but let's see where, as a private sector individual, where do I play in? Suppose I have
3 minutes to wrap up.
I have a few CDs and I want to invest in agric. What do I do? Do I go and buy an Israeli glass house and grow vegetables, or do I go back to my village and try and find, there's still a few things to clarify. But wonderful idea. It's exciting to see that even the opposition is
trying to take credit.
We are not taking credit.
Fine.
We are putting facts.
In less than 30 seconds, please come in and then we wrap up.
Interesting contributions from
Mr. Jackson.
Mr. Jackson and Mr. Jantua. Yes, of course. I mean, this was only a launch.
Exactly.
But it's a launch of the program. Presumably, you have everything in place.
That before you launch something.
Wait,
a lot of things have gone on.
I know that there's been some registration of farmers. There's been engagement of extension officers in preparation for the implementation of the program. All across the districts of this country where farming is undertaken. Some farmers have been registered. So some work has been done. Now, he mentions that he would have loved to see tubers and other things, because those are products that Ghana is a big player in terms of export and all that. Bear in mind also that we import a huge quantum of rice on an annual basis, running into billions of dollars. So the program is schemed that
fix the dollar CD rate and your rice imports will drop.
But how do we fix the CD dollar rate?
You have to
produce. Yes. So the focus then is to produce the rice
that one is dangerous.
Would enable us to be self-sufficient and reduce our quantum of import.
Very well. We need to wrap up, but I just want to bring this in lastly. Mr. Jackson, you raised the issue about access to credit. The ADB has come into this thing, has committed its support, unflinching support to this, and it's saying that it's announced a credit line of about 150 million Ghana cedis to this. My question is, does this...
It's not enough.
I'm asking, does this address the challenges farmers have with...
Not even the
amount.
Hello, can I make a comment here?
Please.
We can make a comment here.
Brief, we are out of time, so please hurry.
is great because the ADB in times past, we've even had CEOs say they are not agric development bank anymore, they are ADB bank. Which 150 million is a lot more.
Yes, not the big one.
Yes,
not AFDB.
There's 150 is a lot more than they've ever spent in the last few years.
It's a good start.
It's a fantastic start. But it's a tiny drop in a really large ocean.
But we need to start from
very well. On that score, I think we can bring conversations to a close here. Thank you so much for making a date with us as usual, sending your text message. Thank you so much. And for those messages I couldn't read out, I promise I'll do so the next time you send them in. We'll see you same time, same place next week here. My name is Abnata Biba. Thank you to the panelists, Mr. Joe Jackson, Honorable Baba Jamal, Mr. Kwame Jantua, and the Honorable Andrew Eja Mesa. Thank you so much. We'll see you here same time next week. Bye-bye.